this one and build on it going into Tuesday.
The Tennessee Titans tight end coach Luke Steckel will interview with the Chargers for their offensive coordinator position, and the Tennessee Titans are still in search for their new offensive coordinator. Conference championships will be this weekend with a rematch of the Chiefs and the Bengals in the AFC and the Eagles and the 49ers in the NFC. This report is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 1025-1063 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame or visit thegamenashville.com. Tonight, your Nashville Predators take on the Winnipeg Jets. Coverage begins at 6 on your home for Smashville. WPRT-FM Pegram, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 1025 and 1063 The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
All the big topics.
That's what people want to know about.
Mixed with some entertainment.
So funny.
It's not funny.
Give it a minute.
This is Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
We got a great show for you, and even if we don't, who cares?
Chase and Michelle, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club, love your hair, live your life. On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is Chase and Michelle here on 1025, 1063 The Game. I'm Chase McCabe. She's Michelle Knezovic. The reporter, Nick Keyser, behind the glass. Hope you're having a wonderful start to your Tuesday. It's game day in Smashville. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace will be at Pete and Terry's Tavern. Stillman and Company at Barrel House. And the Predators take on the Winnipeg Jets tonight. Pre-game coverage with Max Hers, who will join us at 9:45. We'll begin at 6. Michelle, what's up? How you doing?
Living the dream. I'm very excited and just in a good mood today because I get to see my very own Kentucky basketball live in person tonight, playing Vanderbilt here in Nashville. So very excited about that. Woke up very chipper.
You know, I kind of feel like we're getting to the point where we need to find a day and a time that you can kind of do a college basketball update because you live and breathe college basketball. It's not that I don't like college basketball. It's just not. It's not my basketball in general is not my favorite sport.
Well, and I try to explain people who've grown up in Nashville.
I do like the WNBA.
Yeah, little
WNBA?
WNBA
Cool.
this morning. But I do have to say really quick story time before we get into stuff. Like, I know some people, right, are from Nashville, and it was before the Tennessee Titans got here, but you have no idea how lucky you are to live in a city and have an NFL team where their stadium is accessible and, you know, it's quite literally in the center of your city. And, you know, growing up in New York State, the Bills were like 6 hours from me. The Giants and the Jets are in Jersey. I mean, honestly, the closest team is the Patriots to my house. So it's just not the same. So I grew up with college basketball, my favorite. So, you know, I kind of look at the NFL and the NHL more as work, but then college basketball is just my safe space, my comfort zone. I went to the game last week against Alabama, and I'm just like, life is good. Life is good.
I like going to games for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, we're at the time of year where I'll start wagering a little bit on it and watching it, you know, on the
Don
weekends.
Staley, coach of the South Carolina women's team. Easy money.
Yeah.
Bet on them to cover every single time, I promise you.
Yeah, no, they're still really good, right?
Oh, yep, they are.
Okay.
Aaliyah Boston, she probably will get Player of the Year. She's a star.
There you go. That's your college
Probably be in the WNBA soon.
college basketball update, men's and women's today with Michelle Knezovic. ESPN seeing that their sources are reporting that the New England Patriots have a new offensive coordinator, and it is a very familiar name, Bill O'Brien. Looks like he will return. Mike Reese, who covers the Patriots for ESPN, has this. That Bill O'Brien will return to the New England Patriots after agreeing to a deal Tuesday to become their next OC. That's coming from Schefter and Chris Lowe. Of course, Billy O has been with Alabama and Nick Saban, and then he will return to where his NFL career began with the New England Patriots. That's an interesting move. A lot of different layers to it. I think it's a good move because I think Bill O'Brien is a good offensive mind. I have a feeling, you know, he's only 53. He has aspirations of being a head coach in the NFL again, or maybe college, depending on the job. I think he's gone through the Nick Saban head coaching rehabilitation program. Now he's going to the Bill Belichick head coaching rehabilitation program. So I that certainly can help, in that sense of him becoming a head coach. He was a decent head coach with Houston. There wasn't everything that I liked. I mean, I think a lot of people, we've there have been a few arguments on the air on this station about him between yours truly and a few others, Darren. We got into it, but it was a bad GM, obviously. But what does that mean for the Patriots moving forward? Can he, fix Mac Jones? Work with Mac Jones, make Mac Jones be the quarterback that they hope he can be, or do they start looking at other options? I did kind of wonder if, the outside chance of Billy O coming here as the OC, could you then start linking Brady and those two together? Because obviously Bill O'Brien was pretty important in Brady's early career with New England, but looks like he's going back to the Patriots, so that's interesting.
Yeah, when I saw that this morning, I wasn't too surprised, right? I, in my head, and saw some tweets from Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport just throughout this offensive coordinator search around the league. I kind of thought that, he would find himself back up in New England with the Patriots, but something interesting I saw, earlier this morning. This is, you joked about the Nick Saban rehabilitation program. 6 different offensive coordinators. The new one, whoever he decides to hire, will be the 6th different offensive coordinator in 8 years. And I tweeted that out, and somebody tweeted at me and was like, yeah, because they're all good or something. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course, right? You go there because you want to eventually get another job. But as a head coach, I know it's Nick Saban's program, and they're going to get the top recruits, but that's got to be tough.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that, but I also think, this is a situation where I could see there be clashing between Billy O and Saban, just like there was with Kiffin. And the thing is, they can hide behind the Alabama's good, but Nick can help them get jobs and just be done with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what happened with Kiffin, and I think that's what's happened here. Obviously, Saban and Belichick are close. They have talked. And I think I think Bill O'Brien wanted to go back to the NFL. I wouldn't be shocked.
I
if
could
that
see
was
him as a
really,
head coach again someday.
Yeah,
he's still young.
Yeah, 53, and let's see what he could do with Mac Jones. I mean, Bill O'Brien, I don't think gets enough credit for what Brady became early in his career. I mean, he was a part of that. Charlie Weiss was there. There were a lot of different people involved, but Bill O'Brien. I think it was 2007 when he took over. I mean, they were doing some really good things with Bill O'Brien there in New England. So
he would have just missed. Bill O'Brien would have just missed Mac Jones at Alabama.
Yes,
he came the year after him. I think that's going to be it's going to be a huge storyline in New England this year. Is going to be Mac Jones' development, because we kind of saw some sparks from him his rookie season, and then last year was very disappointing, the offense as a whole, but Mac Jones, he's the Alabama guy heading into the league. I have a feeling this will be a test year for him. I think last year was a bit, but if he can't perform this year, they're not able to get more out of him, then the Patriots are going to be looking. They probably are looking this year just because of how those top 3 guys have, targeted a lot of eyes.
Yeah, and I think Mac will be better with Bill O'Brien, because Bill O'Brien's going to push him, but this is a little bit of a prove it year, or not a little bit. This is a lot of a prove it year, like you're saying. Mac
has been a disappointment.
Yeah, he has. There's no doubt. But the Patriots as a whole have been disappointments. They need to. I think that's one of the reasons why Brady was kind of like, you know what, it's time to move on, because they just weren't bringing in a lot of the whole, get a guy, hold on to a guy, and then he's in his prime, and then it's time to pay him and let him go thing wasn't working anymore.
Well, and even just to kind of bring that to looking at a broader picture of, the Patriots and how we're kind of seeing this turn of quarterbacks right now, almost the new era. This is the first time since 2000 that the Steelers and the Patriots both haven't made the playoffs. And I mean, you think about it. The Steelers had Ben Roethlisberger for a good chunk of that time, and the Patriots had Tom Brady, right? And now for the first time, right, you put Tomlin and Belichick up there with the best coaches in the league, and now for the first time we're seeing, okay, right, what can they do with these young guys now as kind of a, you know, a generational flip to their new era of football.
So what does this mean with the Titans? I know Bill O'Brien's name was thrown around because of, you know, Vrabel and he worked together at Houston. There's always that Patriots connection. I don't know how realistic that really was. I never saw true concrete reports that they had talked. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But the Titans obviously are still searching for a new offensive coordinator. Jonathan Hutton was on our show yesterday and gave his thoughts on that ongoing search.
Assuming that one guy is potentially out looking for another opportunity and the other guy is taking that guy's role. Again, that's just my perception of it. I wouldn't mind seeing that as my top option, having Bieniemy, because I think there is a great opportunity here, Michelle, to change up not your philosophy, but change up how you go about running the style of offense you want to run. You can still run the football, but be much more versatile, much more creative, less predictable in how you go about calling plays and when you call certain plays. And any OC that comes in, it's going to be a much different dynamic than the place that they're leaving.
Yeah. So he's talking about Bieniemy and Matt Nagy. Because I do think that the offensive schemes they would bring are similar to what they have been running, but a little different. And I don't think that's a bad thing. That's one thing Coach Bob Shoop and I talked about yesterday on Stillman and Company of you can kind of stick with your core, your bread and butter, but change it up. You have to evolve. And Vrabel even said that in the press conference on Friday that, you know, we're making changes every year. I think they need to shift their philosophy, not necessarily become a pass-first team, but certainly utilize that more. Now, they got to have the personnel for it, but centering everything around Derrick Henry, they're not going to be able to get away with that much longer.
Well, and a lot of people, you know, from the outside looking in, it's like, well, we don't have Patrick Mahomes here with Tennessee, but that's, you know, their style of offense with Patrick Mahomes, so they can focus so much more on the pass game. That doesn't mean that he's going to come in here and have the exact same offensive schemes that he has for Patrick Mahomes for Ryan Tannehill. But what it does mean, Chase, as you mentioned, you know, it opens things up and it brings a new mind and a new, you know, level of creativity in here. So the offense isn't so predictable, right? You throw in some different creative plays in there. And I think that was, you know, one of Tennessee's biggest downfalls this year. You know, in addition to the personnel that they had on the field, yes, I know you have Derrick Henry, but it was the
predictability.
Yeah.
I got you.
That people knew on almost every first and 10, you're going to run it with Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and I still think they think that. And that's the narrative you have to change with whatever this offense philosophy is going to be. But how attractive is this job right now? Teron Davenport had some interesting comments on that yesterday. We'll discuss that coming up next. It's Chase and Michelle. We're up and running here on a Tuesday on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Matich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 $1,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willie Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Join the Nashville Chamber of Commerce for YP Nashville Connect 2023. This Thursday, YP Connect will be in the East Club and Nissan Stadium. This after-hours trade show style event connects young professionals to community impact opportunities with YP Nashville member organizations. As the largest gathering of young professionals in Nashville, YP Connect is a great way to get you plugged into Nashville's expansive young professional community. Register online for the next event at NashvilleChamber.com. That's NashvilleChamber.com.
Third and Home is Germantown's bar with a ballpark. Overlooking the Nashville Sounds, you can have the best seats in the house when baseball season returns March 31st. Pro tip, stop by before the game to watch batting practice from the patio and enjoy happy hour food and drink specials. The mouth-watering menu at Third and Home includes signature items such as wings, stuffed breadsticks, classic burgers, and hot chicken and waffles. Third and Home is open Wednesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Visit thirdandhome.com.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from three.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app. Taking you through your mid-morning.
Love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This is Chase and Michelle, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life.
Where'd you find those crazy characters?
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Do you think the Titans' open OC position is an attractive one?
I don't, to be honest with you. I don't think it is. I mean, right now this roster doesn't have an abundance of playmakers. It is designed to be built around a running back, right? So it's probably not the most attractive option, but I think it's one of the more challenging ones. And it's all about ego, right? You know, guys want to come in and say, hey, you know, I could turn this thing around and make this offense, you know, electric like it was a few years ago with Arthur Smith. So while it may not be the most attractive one, I think it's the most challenging one, and that I think in itself is attractive to intense competitors.
That's Teron Davenport yesterday on Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace. Welcome back in, Chase and Michelle. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. How attractive is the offensive coordinator job for the Tennessee Titans? 615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I would love to hear people's response to that because I thought TD pretty much nailed it. Right now, today, it's not the most attractive job. Now, if you're someone that just, you love coaching, you love teaching, you love creating, you love a challenge, then it's right up your alley because you have several things that are kind of stacked against this. One, he mentioned it, personnel. You don't have dynamic playmakers outside of your running back. You have to change the narrative that you are first play, Derrick Henry, you know,
handoff.
And then third down, he's coming off the field. Like, you got to change that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing to me is, whoever the new offensive coordinator is, or if Mike Vrabel is truly talking to people not named Tim Kelly, then the sales job is, look, Rand just got here. We're going to get more playmakers. We're going to change up the offensive personnel, and we'd love for you to be a part of that process. But look, that's a big sales job. Now, I think what does make it attractive is the opportunity to work with Vrabel. And I think that's not said enough. But the fact that you can work with a guy that's already been Coach of the Year, you can tell that his players love working with him, playing for him, and that he's been able to, at least last year, got his team as the number 1 seed with a ton of injuries. I mean, that's obviously something they've battled. But I do think working with him is a selling point.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's some of those off the field things, right? If you take personnel out of it, also too, Nashville, it's a nice city to bring your family to, right? Depending on wherever you're coming from, that always plays a role into things because these guys are moving all over the place, right? Green Bay with a question mark in front of Aaron Rodgers' name, or Nashville, right? Both teams kind of in similar situations, you could kind of say right now, especially if they don't have Aaron Rodgers up there. But I mean, in addition to that, Chase, all of the other teams, I'm just looking on all the other teams that need offensive coordinator positions too. I think there are a couple that Tennessee beats, right? There's another interesting one, like the Arizona Cardinals. They need a head coach and they need an OC position filled, right? They have a guy in Kyler Murray. Is it more attractive to go with a young quarterback like there, or the Chargers, or, if the Indianapolis Colts decide to draft a guy? If you're an OC, do you want to go to a place where, okay, you maybe have like a young upcoming quarterback in this league, or do you want to go somewhere where, okay, they have a little bit more of a veteran roster, but their offense is meh, what can they do to win games? Or are you more of I think it depends a lot too on where the offensive coordinator is at their point in their career, right? So if you're an Eric Bieniemy and you've won a lot with Kansas City, but do you want a bit more of a challenge before you try to get that head coaching job? If he's not already going to get a head coaching job this year, do you want, okay, let me go to the Titans. Their offense doesn't look great right now. They need to make some substantial moves, but am I going to challenge myself? There still is Derrick Henry, and this would round out kind of my head coaching resume, right? Being with the high-powered offense in the Kansas City Chiefs with a Patrick Mahomes under Andy Reid, and then you get a different look at it here with the Tennessee Titans. Can I be more versatile, and add the run game in a little bit more, also to getting the opportunity to call plays here?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point of, head coaching candidates, and then the OCs, and just kind of the trickle down effect with all of that. I think that DeMeco Ryans, Sean Payton, Dan Quinn are going to be head coaches this year. I think I would put those in the virtual lock. I would be really surprised if they're not category.
And teams looking for head coaches: Colts, Cardinals,
Panthers, Broncos, Texans. Yeah, so those are the openings today. So was it 5?
And that's assuming too that they bring in their own offensive coordinators if they haven't already been fired yet.
Yeah, and I mean most of them do that.
But that's almost, if you're looking at that is almost half of the league who will need an offensive coordinator.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no doubt. I feel like Sean Payton's probably going to go to the Broncos. That's my lean. That feels
him and those short QBs.
Yeah, and I could see him, really being beneficial to Russell. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing.
They could have a similar relationship like Pete Carroll and Russell, which could wear out, but I think that would be good.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too, right? You get Nathaniel Hackett, his first year as a head coach. He hadn't called plays in Green Bay under LaFleur. It's a new quarterback, right? It just was a lot of moving pieces. I do still think that Russell Wilson has good years in him. I just think everybody thought that Denver was going to be the perfect situation, and they definitely have some big holes they still need to fill. I mean, they have a great defense. It's really just some offensive tweaks, right? Getting a head coach that's going to be number one. I still think Russell Wilson can be a good quarterback in this league, but what can he do under a guy like Sean Payton and, with another draft and free agency and things like that? I don't know what their cap situation looks like, but I do think that probably would be the likable destination for Sean Payton in my head right now. I don't see him going to the Cardinals. I don't see him going to the Panthers. I don't see him going to the Texans.
The Cardinals, that's the job that I can't really figure out. I can't get the read on.
Well, especially with all of the drama coming out, too, with, Kyler Murray and his contract. And what if somebody thinks, he's not worth that contract?
Right.
He's too young. He shouldn't have gotten it yet. He hasn't done anything in the playoffs, right? I mean, the Ravens are struggling to come to a conclusion with Lamar. And, I mean, that guy's at least, won an MVP. I know he's only won one playoff game, but he's done more than Kyler Murray in this league. And Kyler Murray's hurt again, too. And then plus, just some of the attitude things that we've heard come out of Arizona. That's going to be an interesting position. And, Monty Ossenfort, who was here with the Titans, now the new general manager there. So that'll be interesting to see who is ready to take on that job.
Yeah, because there's a lot. I mean, if I had to give you a name I'll give you two names that would make sense for that job. Vance Joseph, who's the defensive coordinator already for the Cardinals. He's been a head coach. That makes sense because I've heard people say that he's probably going to get looks as a head coach again. Frank Reich is interesting, even though I could see him needing to be an OC, but he's getting interviews. So
he is getting interviews.
He's interviewing for head coach, so I think if he landed another one, I wouldn't be 100% shocked. Leslie Frazier's one that I know. I don't know if it happens this year. But he's DC with the Bills, been a head coach before.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this being a year of more retread than new guys getting their second opportunity. But the Cardinals, that's the hardest one to figure out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too because obviously they were one of the clubs that also got a new general manager, right? Monty Ossenfort I just mentioned, right? Is there a guy that, maybe he worked with in his past or rather than hiring within? I think that's probably the only reason I might question if they promote somebody within just because of the new general manager.
And then, like the Panthers, I think Steve Wilkes earned that job as the interim.
I do too. I mean, they still had a chance to make the playoffs right towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And
I think Steve Wilkes earned that job. So if I'm making my predictions right now, today, I would say Carolina will be Steve Wilkes, Sean Payton to Denver. I think DeMeco Ryans gets Houston. Because I think you go DC as the head coach there, and then you go get a good offensive coordinator to develop your quarterback.
Potentially a Bryce Young.
Colts.
Jeff Saturday. I think they're just going to stay with him, to be honest.
Do you?
I really do. I mean, I think it was so out of the box that they went and just handpicked him to be their head coach or their interim head coach halfway through the season that it would just be kind of bizarre to me that they would then go hire. Like, if you weren't going to have him as your head coach long term, why didn't you just promote somebody within for the time being? Like, they specifically went and plucked him out. And also, too, I don't think you can really judge much of last year because their team had already just been a big dumpster fire. So I truly believe he'll be back, honestly.
You know who I would hire? Now, I wouldn't like this if I'm the Titans, but I would hire Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn, because he's the one that I said, he should get a job, but and maybe it's the Cardinals, maybe it's Carolina, who knows? But I think Dan Quinn could go in there and fix some things. Now they got to find a quarterback, but he did a good job in Atlanta, and then they never recovered from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I did. I think you can bring up looking at the Colts kind of like the Tennessee Titans, right? You need to know what their vision is. Like, do the Colts want to go draft a quarterback? Because, I mean, I know Ballard wasn't trying to show any of his cards, but, I mean, he made a comment saying, oh, well, I think Matt Ryan still has more left in him. And I know a head coach will have play and input on things like that, but I think if you're going to take a job with the Colts, you need to be sure as to what their plan is. And are we going to finally try to draft the quarterback and not play this, musical chairs that they've been playing at that position for the last 5 years?
Coming up next, the Predators are back in action tonight against the Winnipeg Jets, and there's been a word that has been thrown around a lot lately. How much does that concern me going into tonight? We will discuss that coming up next. It's Chase and Michelle. We're presented by Hair Club. Love your hair, live your life, creating custom hair loss solutions for men and women here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game. Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome to Smashville, home of the biggest hits in hockey and the loudest parties on Broadway. Join us at Bridgestone Arena Tuesday, January 24th for College Night with the University of Kentucky and cheer on your Nashville Predators as they take on the Winnipeg Jets. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets and click on College Nights to secure your tickets and receive a Preds and Wildcats co-branded hat. Plus, don't miss the game coming up January 26th as your Preds take on the New Jersey Devils. Your tickets are waiting. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Let's go, Preds!
Get Friesen for a reason and support Special Olympics at the 2023 Music City Polar Plunge. It's the coolest thing you'll do in 2023. Saturday, February 25th at Nissan Stadium. Plunge as an individual or a team. Come in costume for a chance to win prizes. Whether you jump, run, or tiptoe in, you'll be helping us build a cooler community for 17,000 plus Special Olympics athletes in Tennessee. Learn more and register at polarplungetn.com.
Predators fans, Brewhouse South in Cool Springs and Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue is your home for hockey action all season. They are Predators approved. All games are on, and they're even gonna give you the sound. Get awesome game day drink specials. When you think hockey, think Brewhouse South on Galleria Boulevard in Cool Springs or Brewhouse Highway 100 in Bellevue. Go Preds!
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Chase and Michelle podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
I got some good news. Taking you through your mid-morning, this is Chase and Michelle, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, it depends on which guy you're talking about. I think you know what you're going to get from Roman Josi every night. I think he is what the other buzzword you hear all the time in an 82-game season. Who can be the most consistent? I think you're going to get consistent play from Roman Josi. I think the goaltending has been extremely consistent. But I think if you look at a lot of the previews from the season, the question was, could they get a reasonably similar performance from Philip Forsberg, from Mikael Granlund, Ryan Johansson, from Matt Duchene as they got last year? And I think those four guys in particular are critical to the success of the team. If you tell me those four guys collectively are playing well, maybe not quite as well as they played last year. I mean, those guys, a couple of them had career years. You can't expect that to happen every year. But I think if those four guys can drive the bus, and all four of them had excellent games, I thought, on Saturday, then I think it will make a big, big difference.
That's Willie Donick yesterday on Robbie and Rex Road, talking about the top players for the Predators and their inconsistencies. Back here, Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can hang out tonight before the Preds game at the Superbook Lounge and Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville on Broadway. Place your bets with Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials. Plus, you can enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Predators in action tonight against Winnipeg. And yes, that word, inconsistency. It's one that has been coming up quite a bit. We'll talk to Max Hers in just a few minutes at 9:45, but it's come up a lot, and it's come up with the team as a whole, and it's come up with the top guys that you look to be your anchors night in and night out help your offense go. Forsberg, Duchesne, Yossi obviously is in that from the defensive side, Mikhail Granlund, and there's just been inconsistencies. Now, I agree with Willie. I think Roman Yossi has been the most solid of that core group, and I think there are times where he feels like he has to do too much, and that
overcompensates.
Yeah, to overcompensate, and that hurts him. But that's the kind of player he is. He puts the team on his shoulders and tries to carry his team night in and night out. That's what you all love about him. I also agree that, look, if you get the effort and everything that you got out of those players Saturday night against LA, and you do that every night, this team is going to be in a whole different position than it's in right now. Because I agree, they played well.
Well, and that's the frustrating thing. And Robbie put out a tweet last night, and we got a good gauge of the fans this morning. We had a couple callers, texters, just talking about the frustration, because they'll see nights like that, like Saturday, where you're like, wow, this team looks great. This is the Predators team we've been waiting to see. But then you'll have nights like in St. Louis where, they flop, and you're like, this is not the team that, is going to make the playoffs, or is the team that we've seen earlier this year. And we had David Boyle on this morning, and he was talking to us about how, the team had a meeting before the game Saturday, and basically just talked about, how different guys need to step up. They had, I want to say, like a come to Jesus moment, right? And
they needed to.
And one of those mid-season meetings. And David Boyle said, the leaders on this team stepped up and said, I need to do more, right? Especially Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene coming off those huge seasons they had. And it's not like they've had, huge drop off. Like, I don't think Philip Forsberg has. I think Matt Duchene, needs like a little bit. He needs to pump it up a little bit, which we saw on Saturday, right? He had his 2 goals and things like that. But, the unfortunate truth of this team is that if your star players aren't performing to their absolute top level, this team looks like misfit toys, and they can't get anything going, because you have some young forwards too who are really just starting to find their footing in the league, like UC Parsons and Tommy Novak and Cody Glass. But you can't rely on them to win these games. You can rely on them to help out and to be role players, but it is your job as the veterans on this team to carry them,
carry the bucket. That's what you have to do, and it's been inconsistency. Because here's the come to Jesus part, and I don't know. I'm not around this team as much as I used to be. I've been a little bit more lately, but I don't know their feelings on the system, on the message, on the coach. For a long time, I could gauge that. I knew when Peter Laviolette got fired that Peter Laviolette was going to get fired. It was that point. The message had gotten stale. And, even when they moved on from Barry Trotz, I wasn't as connected then either. It had been a long time, and it was just like, okay, maybe it is time for a change. And there's some people that to this day will argue that no, I don't think it was, and then they will say, okay, maybe it was. But right now, I don't know exactly their feelings on John, and I've said that I don't think this is all on John. I think everybody can share blame, sure, but if things don't change and they don't change, the players don't change their inconsistencies, and it's this roller coaster ride night in and night out, eventually it gets to the point where, you don't have you make a change. You don't have a choice, because you can't go log on NHL 22 and trade everybody. It doesn't work that way.
Well, and I think that, would be an interesting question for David Poile. It's like, when do you get to the point where you say, okay, it's time to change something? When do you get to the point where, okay, this isn't working anymore? It's time to change the head coach. It's time to, make a personnel change or bring somebody up from Milwaukee, which, of course, Philip Tomasino is the main one everybody's looking at now. But when do you get to that point as a general manager where you think, okay, it's time. It's really not getting through it. And Shane from the Borough on our text line brought up a good point. He said, quote, Willie's statement you just played makes the situation even more depressing. When those players had career years last year, they only managed to sneak into the playoffs. They're inconsistent. The Preds don't stand a chance. Sorrow masks a lot of the deficiencies on this team. Shane from the Borough. And I think he brings up a great point, right? Although, in the first round, I will give them the benefit of the doubt of you played the team that ended up, sweeping other clubs and going on to win, the Stanley Cup, and you didn't have UC Soros on the team. I know that doesn't, soften the wound, but if you just take a step back from it and look at it, but it's true, right? You had your players playing at such an incredible level, breaking records. Roman Josi was up for the Norris. Juuse Saros was playing pretty much at a Vezina level until he got hurt. And you had Matt Duchene and Philip Forsberg, breaking records here. And you still couldn't win in the playoffs.
Right. And sure.
You couldn't win a game.
And that's, people, I've said this before. There is a segment of the fan base that has just made up their mind on what they want, and they are entitled to that opinion. I don't agree with every aspect of that opinion. I don't disagree with every aspect of that opinion. I understand. I see the inconsistencies too, both in the front office and with the coach. That's why I say it's everybody. Everybody shares a piece of the blame. It's that growing sense of, I'm just tired of being good enough to just make it. And this year, it's so compact and so close that they might miss out. I mean, not everybody's going to have a seat on the ride when the playoffs come, and then you're going to have even more conversations and decisions that you have to make.
Well, and I think something too, the way the season ended last year, it obviously had a sour taste in Preds fans' mouth, right? Some people were already ready to move on from John Hines. Some people wanted to, tank and go try to get a, high draft pick and things like that. But then, you see David Poile and the Preds go out and get Nino Niederreiter. And then that brought kind of a, okay, we're trying to beef up this roster. We made the playoffs last year, and now we're making additions like Nino Niederreiter and Ryan McDonough. Okay, our roster is going to be better. We're going to feel pretty confident. We're definitely going to be a playoff team. And a lot of people, from The Athletic and, all over when we made our playoff predictions, the Preds are going to make the playoffs, right? They snuck in last year, and they're making, additions to make this team better. So, Robbie said this morning, and I agree with him. If they don't make the playoffs this year, that's a huge disappointment because it's not like you headed into the season thinking, okay, we're going to tank. We're going to try to get a high draft pick. You couldn't really, especially because of your cap and, you have these players on your team. Okay, so you go out, you get a Nino, you get a Ryan McDonough. Okay, this team has gotten better on paper, but why is it not clicking? Why is it not working? Right, and that is the question that we just simply don't have a good answer to right now. I've put on my Twitter account at Chase on Game, what is your overall feeling of the Preds right now? This should be interesting. Oh, gosh. Robbie said he got lots of feedback on his last night. So should be interesting. Well, but tell us how you feel. Call us, text us, right? So I feel like we can only gauge from the people who talk to us and let us know. And I feel like a lot of times that is, negative and just wanting to air your grievances. But, if you're more of a glass half full, we want to try to get the whole picture of how the fan base is feeling. Well, we'll see how Max Hers is feeling. We will do that coming up next. He'll be on the pre and the post tonight. We'll do that as a part of the Daily Power Play here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hi, I'm Juuse Saros. And this is Smashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by Juuse Saros there. Unreal.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
What's up, everybody? This is Michelle Knezovic for Superbook Sports, and it's the final drive for the championship is here. There's no better place to wager on the football title than Superbook Sports. Superbook features the best menu of prop bets in the business. Plus, check out their special odds boosts and promotions at superbook.com. With over 3 decades of odds-making experience in Las Vegas, there's no better place to wager on Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is my official sports book, and it should be yours, too. If we're taking a look at the conference championship games this weekend, listen, I'm not sure about Patrick Mahomes' health. I know he said that he's feeling better and that he plans to play this weekend, but Joe Burrow is undefeated over Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals minus the 2 in Kansas City. I'm also going to take the San Francisco 49ers plus the 2.5 over Philadelphia. So with 3 decades of odds-making experience in Las Vegas, there's no better place to wager than Superbook Sports. Put those bets in, win some money, and as one lucky team wins the championship, download the Superbook Sportsbook app today. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Al Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
Losing your hair? It's Chase McCabe. No matter your age, gender, or type of hair loss, it's never a good feeling when you see too much hair on your brush or you begin to notice bald spots. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 members get hair they love. If you're affected by hair loss and not sure what to do, let Hair Club help customize a solution for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today and get started at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say?
You're listening to Chase and Michelle, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club, love your hair, live your life on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. It's time for the Daily Power Play.
And the score! A power play goal for the Predators.
Covering the Predators and the NHL.
With a shot that's stopped by Saros.
Now on Chase and Michelle.
That's right. Every day at 9:45, we do the Daily Power Play. Hey, Preds fans, don't miss Smashville Live tomorrow at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs, starting at 6 o'clock. You can see Predator star players Nino Niederreiter and Ryan McDonough. You can get autographs, pictures, all of that. Smashville Live is brought to you by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling and Little Harpeth Beer in Superbook Sports. Let's say hello to Max Hers. He is the pre- and post-host, does some play-by-play, and just an all-around good guy. Joins us now. Max, what's up? How you doing?
Hey, Max.
Wow. Those are some nice words, Chase. Thank you.
Yeah, just you know where to leave the check. That's how this works. Predator.
At Michelle's house?
Yes. There you go.
I will take the check.
There you go. Predators back in action tonight against Winnipeg, and I thought it was interesting. David Poile on Robbie and Rexroad this morning. You know, they mentioned that the meeting the players had. You saw the effort Saturday night against Los Angeles, taking a 2-0 lead 20 seconds into the game, getting the goalie pulled. Obviously, LA battled back, but the Predators were able to get the 2 points. I know if you knew the answer to this question, you'd probably be a very wealthy man and maybe an NHL head coach, but how can they get that effort night in and night out? Because if they do that, Max, I think we're having a different conversation about this team.
Yeah, and it needs to be a long-term galvanization from this meeting, not just a one-game spark. And it worked for one game. And now they've got 2 more playoff spot-holding teams coming in here this week, starting tonight with the Jets, who are 1 point away from the top of the Western Conference, which is crazy to think about, but The Jets have been really hot recently. They're a tough matchup. Preds have already played them once up in Winnipeg this year, and that was when the team was really not scoring, able to get that game to overtime, lost in OT. But the Jets are much better now. The Preds are much better now. They need to keep riding the same way they did on Saturday, and they're going to need contributions from everybody. They're going to need the best players on the team to lead the charge like they did last year. They're going to need the supporting players to play as well as they have. I think almost all of those guys have played really well over the last month. They're going to need everybody to pull their weight, and they're going to need it to happen these last 2 games going into the All-Star break. They're going to need it to happen in the hockey coming out of the All-Star break. And I think the break will serve them well, but pretty much everybody is getting their bye week. So it'll be interesting both headed in and coming out to see if they can keep that up.
Yeah, and you know, I kind of looked at it as obviously you want to win all the games, but with the 3 that were at home before the All-Star break, I felt like you had to take at least 2 of the 3, ideally all 3. You mentioned Winnipeg and how they've been playing lately, but look, it's a measuring stick game for me, and I think that these guys know that. They need to see where they measure up against some of the top teams, and you know, for the most part, they've played well against the top teams lately. So I feel like that should be no different tonight, especially, like we said, if you get the effort out of guys like Duchesne, Forsberg, Mikael Granlund, and Roman Josi goes for himself that you saw the other night.
Yeah, you want your best players to match their best players, and the last time the Preds played the Jets, Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois were all over the place. They had the puck half the game, it felt like. Connor ended up with 9 shots on goal in the game. Maybe it was even 11. It was somewhere around 10, and it was a ton. He was shooting like crazy, and Nikolai Ehlers was hurt that game. So those 2 guys, Connor and Dubois, are now playing with Ehlers, and they have been dominating possession, dominating chances. So it'll be interesting to see who the Preds match up against them in terms of having the last change at home tonight and what the approach is.
So Max Hers is with us, pre- and post-host for the Nashville Predators. I thought about you the other night. As soon as Cole Smith was credited with the goal and that goal went in, I was like, look, I'm glad Pete Weber is here and back in the booth, but I know how badly Max wanted to call that Cole Smith goal.
It was a good goal, too. Yeah, I would have loved to call it. Really nice tip-in. Got it around a defenseman, Matt Roy, who was he was bear-hugging him, and Smith just went with the stick over his back and tipped it in. And it was about time. He said it after the game. He's had so many chances, and I've asked Cole a couple of times along the way. He's been happy with the shots he's been taking. It's not like he's been coming in on breakaways and roofing the puck and completely missing. Like, he's gotten good chances, and at some point he will regress positively and end up scoring more goals, you would think and you would hope, because he's gotten great chances throughout. And tonight will be his 50th NHL game. He'll be looking for goal number 2, and I think the team was overjoyed for him. We heard from Mikael Granlund after the game in our post-game interview. That was the most excited the bench has been all season when he scored that goal to put that game out of reach on Saturday.
We've got Max Hers with us, host of the pre- and post-game show on 102.5. That's going to start at 6 tonight. Max, how big do you think Saturday was for Mikael Granlund and just his confidence overall?
Well, I think despite the fact they hadn't scored a goal in a month, he's still playing well. He's been moved around a lot, and I think he's also been a victim a little bit of the lack of goal production from the guys at the top of the lineup around him. Because he set up so many Matt Duchesne goals last year, and until Saturday, Duchesne hadn't had a multi-goal game yet this season. So it just kind of lessens everything that Granlund is able to produce. But it was a beautiful goal, a beautiful tip. Hadn't scored a goal in a month, but I don't think he'd been silent during that time. I think he'd had some assists, and you can look at those numbers, but I think he had driven play to some extent. And also, when the power play was 1 for its last 25 over 8 games, everybody's numbers are going to be down. So they had 1 power play chance in that game. They scored a minute into that power play. They did not have another chance, which is kind of ridiculous, but they only had 1 chance and they capitalized on it, which is all you can ask for after an 8-game stretch where they had been scoring on 4% of their power plays. So Granlund, had a great setup on that. Off the wall to Johansson for a beautiful tip. It's exactly what Gramlin should be doing on the power play. He's the distributor. They put last year's group of 5 back together on the power play for that one chance, and I don't think there's any reason to take them apart as long as they don't go on another 1 for 25 stretch. Those guys should be together.
Yeah, Max, so, just honing in on the power play, that was what I was going to ask you next. We talked to David Poyle about it this morning, and he mentioned exactly what you said. They had struggled a lot with the power play over these last couple of games. They finally put that core group from last year back together, and they capitalized off of it on Saturday. You mentioned there's no reason this group shouldn't be together. Will they be together tonight? And if they're not, how concerning is that?
Well, I think they will be at least to start tonight, and they have kind of the backup units, the half and half units, if these top guys aren't producing, because I think John Hines got to the point at the beginning of the season where you can't ride with this group forever because they're clearly not producing at the level they were last year, and some of the tweaks work. Having Tommy Novak and Yusuf Parson on that top group helped score them some power play goals, but we're at the point in the season where you got to get your best guys back together. Your best units have to be your best units. There's been a lot of tweaking and moving around, both on even strength forward lines and on the power play. And I think they're at the point of the year, especially after the meeting where accountability was claimed, where the best guys need to be the best guys, and that means the best 5 players should be on the power play together like they were last year, and that unit needs to produce. And the fact that they got literally exactly 1 minute together on Saturday and they scored a goal is a really, really good start.
So, Max, it is you and Willie Donick versus me tonight. We got Vanderbilt basketball and Kentucky basketball in Memorial tonight. You both will be at the Preds game, but I will be in person. Give me your pregame predictions. I want to hear it. Willie already said we're rivals this week. First thing he said yesterday when I saw him.
Well, can my prediction be Cal's going to Texas? Is that their prediction?
That's perfect.
That's a good one, yeah.
That is perfect, Max.
Yeah, I don't really have much of a prediction for the game because I haven't watched a second of Kentucky basketball this season, and
how dare you?
Honestly, have no plans to until March Madness, if they make it. But I have watched some Vandy basketball recently, and they've been scoring, so that's exciting. And all I see about Kentucky basketball is that everyone's ready to disband the program or whatever panic mode you guys are constantly in. So keep panicking, I guess, is my message to you, Michelle.
Thanks. Right? I really appreciate it. And I'll be sure to text you and Willie tonight while I'm at the game. A nice selfie of me there.
There you go. Max.
Thank you. Have fun. Enjoy historic Memorial Gymnasium.
Yeah, it's a lovely place. That is for sure. Max, appreciate it as always. We'll see you tonight and be listening at 6 o'clock.
Thanks, Max.
Thanks, guys. I really have no basketball knowledge to bring to the table on this fine day, as you can tell.
That's okay. You're a busy man. We get it. Thanks, Max.
See you guys.
Later. Max Hers, pre and post host, starting at 6 o'clock tonight on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. By the way, we're going to be giving away Nickelback tickets at some point.
I love Nickelback.
There's a lot of Nickelback hate, but I'm probably going to go to this show. I'm pretty pumped about it. That's coming up in just a little bit, but we'll get back into the Titans. If the Titans do move on from Ryan Tannehill, what is realistic? We'll discuss that next. Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Social Furniture's tax refund sale is going on now. You will save up to 50% at every department. Huge markdowns. You don't want to miss this opportunity to make your home spectacular. We have everything for your home in stock with no waiting. And hassle-free same-day delivery makes it easy. Pay no money down and pay no interest for 1 full year during Social Furniture's tax refund sale. Don't wait. Come in today. Social Furniture on Charlotte Avenue in the Richland Creek Shopping Center. And save, save, save.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, forhims.com/radio. That's forhims.com/radio for your free online visit. forhims.com/radio.
At 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, we recognize our veterans, active military, and first responders with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the lands of the free and the home of the brave?
This is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Now, your Game Center update.
This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Your Nashville Predators are back at action this evening against the Winnipeg Jets, a Central Division foe. The Jets are 7-3-0 in their last 10 games. David Poyle was on Robbie and Rexrode this morning and addressed how he feels about the team lately before All-Star break.
You know, it's sort of now or never, if you will. I mean, we're going to have the break here in a couple of games, and we're still not in the playoffs. We haven't really been there all year, and we just need to play at a higher, more consistent level. So
we've got you covered with pregame starting at 6 p.m. this evening, with puck drop coming up at 7 p.m. And news out of the NFL this morning: Bill O'Brien has been hired as the New England Patriots' new offensive coordinator after 2 seasons with the University of Alabama and Nick Saban. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
All the big topics.
That's what people want to know about.
Mixed with some entertainment.
So funny. It's not funny.
Give it a minute. This is Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
We got a great show for you, even if we don't, who cares?
Chase and Michelle, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club, love your hair, live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hour number 2, Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hope you're having a great start to your Tuesday. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace will be at Pete and Terry's Tavern for Preds game day coming up in about an hour. But right now, talking about the Titans, and if they decide to move on from quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Rand Carthon was non-committal in his press conference. Vrabel's kind of been non-committal. Carthon's whole thing was, I just got here, I need time to evaluate, and I totally get that. I think that's a fair answer. He answered it the right way, but you know, If it's a franchise quarterback, I don't think you need time to evaluate. So that obviously is where the Titans are at. So if they decide to move on from Ryan Tannehill, who exactly is a realistic option? Now, yesterday, Jonathan Hutton was on our show, as he joins us every Monday at 10:30, and he stands by that Henry and Tannehill are the best options for this team.
I didn't read much into what he said about Tannehill, and the Henry stuff, that fits the mentality of what they're going to do. He still mentioned running the football. So did Vrabel. That's just kind of the mindset of those two guys. And to me, I think if you got in a closed door with them and asked them their options, Tannehill right now, as we sit here today, Tannehill's the best option. Now, other options can present themselves. What are your trade options in the draft? What are your free agent options? What are your trade options right now among quarterbacks? But right now, Tannehill's the most realistic and best option given the circumstances of what they have.
That's Jonathan Hutton yesterday on our show. I agree with Jonathan Hutton. I believe that right now, today, Ryan Tannehill is the best option for this football team. Now, if I had to guess, I think Jared in particular is probably going to create a narrative of getting rid of – he's on the Brady train. I already know that. He wants Tom Brady here. I don't believe it's going to happen. I've seen crazy things happen, but I don't believe it's going to happen. But there's going to be a group that kind of looks at this as, yep, they're going to move on. They need to move on. And there's a lot of you that have already said it's time to move on. Now, it's not as easy to say, yep, we're done with the veteran guy. Let's go find our next guy in the draft. Yes, you're picking at 11, but there's a lot of teams ahead of you that are going to need or want quarterbacks, and there's going to be posturing and moving around, and I don't think there's going to be a guy worthy of taking at 11 when you get to 11. Now, could you land a Hendon Hooker or somebody like that in the second, maybe third round? Sure you could, but that's a project. You're going to need a veteran to be here for at least a year or two before you could turn the keys over to somebody like him. And he could turn out to be similar to Malik Willis, where you realize he's not an NFL quarterback. You could also bring the right OC in here to develop Malik Willis, and it turns out he's okay. I don't think that, but you never know. So there's a lot of different ways to go there, but I think he's the best option. I don't believe Brady is a realistic option. Derek Carr and Jimmy G to me would be downgrades, and Aaron Rodgers, while the reports are out there, he could be traded. You have too many holes to give up the draft capital to make that work.
Yeah, I think I saw a report earlier this morning just on the Aaron Rodgers front of the Packers want at least 2 first-round picks, and then, I think it's something crazy. I was listening yesterday to ESPN Radio that you would have to pay Rodgers $60 million just for the year that he's with you, right? Because he signed that huge contract with Green Bay last year, and they're not gonna try to get out of that contract and basically just have dead money of close to $40 or $50 million. So I think Aaron probably is out. Then again, we've seen crazier things. I think that's probably the farthest one away from you. Brady, he is going to be a free agent. I think there are, as I almost fall off my chair, there are going to be other options, right? We've talked about the Raiders with McDaniels. They already have that prior connection. It's going to come down to, also who do you hire at offensive coordinator? What is the plan that you're presenting to them? Like, why should a guy like Tom Brady, who's just chasing more rings, he's just trying to go to another franchise and win another ring, right? First off, your offensive line in front of him. Brady is not a mobile quarterback, never has been, has always just been back there. He needs to be protected or he's not going to be able to make plays. We saw it this year. He was just people bring up these passing stats by Brady and, how many attempted throws and all of that stuff, but a lot of times it was in a, comeback situation. They won, were they just 500 this year to make the playoffs? A lot of that was situational and not just because he was slinging it all over the field and had these amazing numbers. It was because they were in comeback situations. And sometimes that worked. But, the unfortunate truth is he's not a young, agile guy who can, overcome a offensive line. Then, another guy who you forgot to mention, Chase, and I know some people think and roll their eyes at this, that it's not an option, but I truly do think that Trey Lance actually could be an option to potentially come here. You stay on Tannehill for the next year. But the way I look at it, and the San Francisco Chronicle, which is a pretty viable news story, it's a really viable news source in San Francisco, came out with an article on Saturday saying, talking with people within the organization, saying that Brock Purdy's their guy.
Yeah.
So they gave up a lot to get Trey Lance at 3. Rand Carthon, your new GM, obviously has ties to him. So how much are you willing to give up? I don't think they'll get what they gave to get him, but could you figure out a deal where you get him for maybe a couple picks, and Rand Carthon's really confident that he's gonna be your guy, and then he sits under Tannehill for a year and you don't get that cap hit from Tannehill, the following year you can move off of him. But I really do think that is an option not a lot of people are talking about, but it's more realistic than a Brady or a Rodgers.
See, I disagree, because I don't believe in giving up the draft assets that you would have to give up to get Trey Lance, because San Francisco is going to hold him as a bounty. And they're like, look, we can either hang on to him and see what he is and he can be the backup to Purdy, or we can unload him and get a bunch of draft picks, to let him go. But they still traded up to the 3rd overall pick in the draft to take him. There's too much unknown for me to be willing to do that for a team that has so many other holes. Draft capital is so important right now for Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel. I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with you. I don't look at him as a good option, because there are way too many question marks with him.
If Rand Carthon comes in and he tells Mike Vrabel, he is our guy, he is going to be an absolute superstar, like, I think, we need to do everything to go and get him, then I think if your new GM is coming in here and telling you, like, this is the guy, I've seen him, I've worked with him, like, he's going to be an absolute superstar someday, he could be your franchise guy, I think 100% you try to go get him.
Okay.
And give up draft capital.
In the spirit of collaboration, which is what they're doing, let's discuss that further, because you seem to have a pretty strong or you're making a pretty strong case for Trey Lance and the Titans making a trade for him. What do you all think? 615-737-1025. That is our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can call or text should the Titans make a play for Trey Lance. I say no. Michelle says yes. What do you think? We'll discuss that coming up next here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hey, Middle Tennessee, it's trivia time. You think you're pretty smart? Well, come on out Wednesday, February 1st to Boone Bars East and test your trivia skills. Featuring Willie Donick as Trivia Master, all proceeds support STARS and the hope, health, and connection of young people in our community. Register your team of no more than 4 and let the competition begin. Go to starsnashville.org to officially sign up. That's starsnashville.org. See you February 1st at Boom Bars East.
It's electric in Smashville. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429 has a new path to a dignified career. Local 429 is accepting applications for the highest skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to IBEW429.org. IBEW Local 429, your proud seventh man since the beginning. Go Preds!
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Centennial offers world-class orthopedic care with multiple physicians at this location, specializing in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremities, and other orthopedic conditions. Make better use of your time with Houston Clinic Orthopedics with on-site diagnostic and testing, timely appointments, and easy access to the facility. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Centennial, across from Centennial Park and Centennial Sportsplex, when experience matters.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines, like trendy, so are man buns, or great potential, just like your ex. Must see inside. Yeah, because it's a dump outside. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says open floor plan, the doors are sold separately. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
The ultimate family-friendly concert experience is back and all new for 2023. The Kids Bop Never Stop Live Tour is coming your way, so get ready to sing and dance. Friday, July 28th, First Bank Amphitheater. On sale Friday, January 27th at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. So come have the best time ever at the Kids Bop Never Stop Live Tour. See you there. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series presented by Live Nation.
When you want live and local,
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
they've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. Taking you through your mid-morning.
Love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This is Jason Michelle, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life.
Where'd you find those crazy characters?
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, did you know you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day? Good song, Nick. Our video streaming is presented by Superbook Sports. Back here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your calls and your texts, 615-737-1025. Do you think that Trey Lance is a viable option for the Tennessee Titans at quarterback? I say no. Michelle says yes. What do you think? I think this is an interesting debate. And I understand it because Rand Carthon was a part of the crew that found him in San Francisco, even though, he was a top pick, but was a part of that process of trading up to the 3rd overall pick and getting him. Now, where I think Rand Carthon has been very good because of, his job there is helping find, guys like Elijah Mitchell and Brock Purdy, those guys later in the draft. It would seem that San Francisco, they're on the verge of a Super Bowl berth with Brock Purdy as their quarterback, that they might ride that. And so that makes somebody like Trey Lance expendable. Now, I don't think they're going to let him go for, nothing.
No.
And that's the thing. What Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel have to do here is they have to fill a lot of holes. And to me, it doesn't make sense to give up the assets that it's going to take to get Trey Lance. Now, I don't know exactly what those assets are. It would take more to get Aaron Rodgers that you're certainly not going to do. Plus, you got to pay him a lot. At least you're getting Trey Lance still on a rookie deal. But I'm looking for situations where they can find dynamic playmakers on offense, rebuild an offensive line, get some help, in the linebacking core. I heard the discussion this morning about Bud Dupree, and I thought that was interesting.
I did
because
too.
Yes, he has not lived up to the contract, and so it's very easy to say, yeah, you got to let him go. But you got to have pass rush.
You
so
do,
you gotta do that.
And it's not easy. It's not easy to find guys like that, right? Obviously, quarterback's going to be the number one guy you're going to want to hit on, but who's the second guy you're going to want to hit on, right? When you're building a roster, you want a guy who can affect the quarterback on the other side of the ball on your defense, right? Pass rushers. And although, Bud Dupree is going to be 30, you did sign him to that big contract, and it's not as easy to get out of it as you think. I think the guy said he played 22 out of the 34 games he was here. He did play in that playoff game against Cincinnati last year, but he struggled with injuries. But he's a guy that I'm definitely going to keep over a Zach Cunningham.
Yeah, no doubt. But
I think he's better than a Rashad Weaver when he's on the field. I don't think Rashad Weaver is quite there. Yes, younger. Yes, on a rookie deal. But I don't think Rashad Weaver is ready to take on, as much as Bud Dupree has been.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up on Weaver. And
no,
I
not ready to give up.
I don't think you're saying that either. But I want to see because technically last year was his rookie year. I mean, he
Yes.
basically missed
Correct.
all of his
Yeah.
rookie year. So I think there's still time there. 615-737-1025. We'll get to some texts on this in just a second. Do you think the Titans should make a run at Trey Lance, or how do you feel about the quarterback position overall? Let's go to our phone line and hear from Graham. He wants to weigh in. Welcome in.
Hey, Graham.
Hey, just a couple points here. Just kind of like how John Robinson was plucked from the Patriots. You know, he knew how that organization ran, and Carthon has been around that culture a little bit, that he knows who to bring in. The 49ers have made more Super Bowls than the Titans have in the last 20 years, so knowing that, and plus making a big trade during this season for Christian McCaffrey has paid off. So I think looking now in the future to come, he can make some stuff that can make some big impacts right away.
All right, Graham. Appreciate the call.
Thanks, Graham.
And that's the other thing too. Like if you're not going rebuild mode, which I don't think they are, I think D-Mace has used renovation, retooling. Like
Retool.
I like that. Refurbishing.
Just going to flip the home.
Yeah. You're going to go and basically you're redoing the kitchen. You know, that's the offensive line. You're going to redo the kitchen. You're going to put new floors down. You know, you're going to paint. Maybe fix the windows. Maybe get new windows, and then you're good.
Then you're good. Yeah, exactly. And I think like that is the conversation that you and I have had, over these last couple of weeks since we started this show, is that you don't need to fully tank, but there are some positions you can upgrade at. Yes. But then I think that every single year, if you don't have your guy at quarterback, you need to be evaluating whether it's the guys in the draft, whether it's young guys who, for instance, Trey Young is Trey Young. Trey Lance.
He's a good basketball player.
Trey, I said that. I was like,
he played quarterback?
I was watching Hawks Bulls last night. He was in my head. Or a guy like Trey Lance, right? So I think that because it has become such a quarterback-driven league, and Rand Carthon mentioned that when he spoke to us on Friday, that guys get hired and fired every single day. I think that heading into next year, yes, for right now, Ryan Tannehill is your best option. He's been a guy who's been in this offense. He's been efficient for you all. He's been successful. He's won a lot of games. But if you have the opportunity, whether it's in the draft, you think that one of those three guys, or you think maybe a guy who's under the radar like Hendon Hooker or something like that, you are really, really confident and think this is our guy. Or, Rand Carthon comes in and he's like, listen, the Niners are going with Purdy because he got in there and he really showed, that he can perform under the pressure, and we didn't think that he was going to be this great, but wow, he got overlooked at every position, and we finally picked him last in the draft, and he's our guy moving forward. Okay, whatever. They're not going to give up Trey Lance for nothing.
No.
But I think if you are so confident that he could be your guy moving forward, I think it would be stupid not to look in to try to give it up to get him, because they don't come around all the time. And yeah, if you miss him, okay, but at least you tried. But what if you hit on him and he's your quarterback for the next how many years?
Ifs and nuts. Ifs and buts.
But that's ifs and buts.
Ifs and buts, candies and nuts. We all have a Merry Christmas.
But like you can say that for the draft too. Okay, you want to keep your capital. And you draft Dylan Radins, Caleb Farley, right? I can name off all these guys who didn't end up working, and you kept that capital. What if, this year you trade a bunch of that and you get Trey Lance and it works? We can play these back and forth games, but I do think it's definitely something that you have to look into, especially if you think that his potential and his ceiling could be up there with some of the best quarterbacks in the league, and specifically the AFC.
Yeah. Here's an interesting text though, and where I would go with this. Marlon from Murfreesboro. Lance and Tannehill have the same injury risk at this rate. Lance hasn't proven himself, and at least Tannehill has won some games. Better with the devil I know. The injury concern is a big one for me.
100%. But I'm not saying go off Tannehill right now. I'm saying still keep Tannehill.
So you're saying give up whatever you'd have to give up to trade for Lance and bring Lance in to back up Tannehill?
If you think he's your guy, yes.
Yeah, I think you have too many holes to fill, on this. If they this is where I would semi agree with you. If this team didn't have the problems that it did at offensive line, then I think this could be a bit of a different conversation. You could do that because then you're planning for the future. But the fact that you don't have an offensive line right now, and that's going to take so much, and Cincinnati turned it around in a year, even though I think the Titans are worse, at O-line. It's gonna take some time. It's gonna take draft assets and free agency to do that.
No, I agree that I'm not saying that the Titans don't have, a lot of holes that they need to fill. The perspective that I'm looking at it from is, okay, for example, when Rand Carthon got up and spoke to the media on Friday and talked about, Elijah Mitchell, the San Francisco 49ers needed a linebacker. They wanted to get a linebacker, and this is a smaller example, but they needed a linebacker. But then they see Elijah Mitchell, and then the linebackers coach sees him, and he's like, "Who is that guy?" And they're like, it doesn't matter. We're not getting a linebacker. We're getting this guy because he is the best guy. What I'm looking at right now is I know that the Tennessee Titans have a lot of other holes at positions. But if you truly do believe that he is as talented as, people say he is and that he could be the future, why would you not at least try to go get him, even though you have a lot of other holes? Quarterbacks, look at last year's quarterback class, right? Okay, are you just going to stay with Tannehill and then, try to fill these holes? And then, you already wasted a 3rd-round pick on Malik Willis and people are already off of him and don't think that he's going to be, able to be a starter in the NFL?
Right. Here's the other part. I mentioned the injury, and it sparked this in my head. Rand Carthon was asked Friday about injuries.
Along those lines, what's your policy then, or your idea on bringing in guys who are currently injured or have a history of injury?
Obviously, you don't want to hopefully not bring in, injured guys, right? You can't get anything out of anyone if they're not available. So our mission is going to be to put, systems in place where we can get guys on the healthier side. But once you kick this thing off, nobody's ever 100%, again. So it'll be about, maximizing guys with where they are.
I think because of the history of John Robinson, drafting Caleb Farley, who had injury history, signing Bud Dupree off an ACL. There's been other examples of bringing in hurt guys. Even though Rand Carthon knows Trey Lance and has that connection, I believe he will be strongly encouraged to not pursue that.
Yeah, the whole Titans injury situation, though, like when Vrabel spoke at his ending press conference, he talked about, Trey Lance broke his leg. You can't really avoid that in football. You can't avoid an ACL. Yeah, you can, try to work on soft tissue injuries and stuff. And I get the point of, not wanting to bring somebody in who's had, injuries and things like that. And we don't even know if San Francisco wants to give him up, right? You don't know. I'm just saying, because now the text line's like, why would you, if San Francisco thinks that he's a franchise guy, why would they ever give him up? And I get that, but if they think that Brock Purdy is better, but they still think he's going to be, it's just an option.
Sure.
Right?
Look, this is a healthy debate.
But I also think, if people aren't looking at it like, oh, that could be an option. People are so out on Malik Willis. They're so out on Ryan Tannehill. But then you throw out another option of a guy who, when he's been on the field, and yes, I know in preseason games, and he played in Soldier Field in the monsoon up there, the first game of the season, he obviously was drafted 3rd for a reason, and I know we see busts, but, people are out on Tannehill, they're out on Malik Willis, and then they think you're going to go get Aaron Rodgers. At least I'm bringing up a viable option.
Yeah, and I know one texter said that, the rumors are you could get him for a 3rd-round pick.
If you could do that.
Yeah, but I do kind of feel like you're going one or the other. I don't see a scenario where you have Tannehill and Lance. I understand why you're thinking that, but I don't think that's a viable option, because then you're, this would be what, year 3 for Lance? You got to see what you got, but I don't know. It's an interesting debate, and it's going to continue to be a debate. until we have resolution on who the quarterback is.
Somebody said, I don't want him if a 6th-rounder starting above him. I mean, you can't. Brady was a 6th-rounder, right? Like, that's the easiest comparison, right? Just because
I mean, Mr. Irrelevant is starting above him, the last pick in the draft.
Yeah, and I know Brady won't ever happen again, but, I mean, we see guys all the time. I mean, George Kittle was a 4th or 5th round pick, and he's one of the best tight ends in the league right now, right? So, I mean, we see that all the time with guys. I don't think you can look at it as a 6th round guy is starting above him.
Yeah.
And also, Shanahan's offense, you don't have to be a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow, right? His offense is very similar to the college offense, and that is why you can have guys like Jimmy G, a guy like Brock Purdy, be successful in that offense. But not everybody can do it because it's really hard to have the depth on your team and have great guys at almost every other position.
Right.
So the point to that.
615-737-1025. There you go. Good debate. That is for sure. 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your texts on that. The quarterback options for the Tennessee Titans, I think Rodgers ends up with the Jets.
I do too.
That just their
team is
close.
ready. They're
close and just need the quarterback.
And I know that they missed the playoffs this year, but I mean that defense, that was a top defense in the league, and they just had way too much drama with Zach Wilson. And there's a guy who was drafted, I think, right above Justin Fields, and already not panning out.
So I could see that. But up next, we've talked about if the Titans model themselves after the 49ers, what would that mean? Would we obviously sign up for that? Coach Bob Shoop had thoughts on that yesterday. You'll hear from him next here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Come on. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Choice is Yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to JarrettFire.com. JARRETT Fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards. Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new Nashville hot fish and chips. Beer battered black cod served over crispy fries or tots with Omni's own Nashville hot season blend. Served with chipotle slaw and malt vinegar tartar sauce.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Are you ready for the biggest party of the year? Nickelback with a live show unlike any other. August 1st at Bridgestone Arena. Nickelback, the Get Rollin' Tour with Brantley Gilbert and Josh Ross. Tickets on sale Friday at 10 a.m. at LiveNation.com. Nickelback, produced by Live Nation. Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. got some good news. Taking you through your mid-morning, this is Chase and Michelle, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club, love your hair, live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are broadcasting live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Show presented by Hair Club. Love your hair, live your life, creating custom hair loss solutions for men and women. Chase McKay, Michelle Knezovic, reporter Nick Keyser, and some Dr. John. Very good. Very good. Your music catalog is expanding, and I like that. I'm very proud of you.
Yes, I'm very happy that you are pleased with that. And I think one person I can CC on this message is Elijah Campbell, because he has been a great influence.
Yeah.
That's good. Elijah knows music. I think that is a great source for you.
Yeah, and I'm not as educated on music, and that is completely okay.
I know that.
You know who doesn't know music is Rex Road, and I hope he's listening right now.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but you can always play Here Comes the Sun, and it always gets him going.
Oh, there you go.
That's a good song. The Titans. Yeah, we talked about this yesterday, Michelle, modeling themselves after the 49ers. And, you know, Ran Carthon coming from that organization, seeing what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have put together. Can they do that here, and how effective would that be? I co-hosted Stillman and Company yesterday with Coach Bob Shoop. Bob has been a defensive coordinator for many schools in the SEC, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Penn State, and the Big Ten. So he's well connected in all aspects of football. And so I asked him that question, and it's a little bit of a longer answer, but here was his thoughts.
By all accounts, in the 49ers organization, the collaboration between Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch is off the charts. I mean, that's what, you know, Rand spoke about that, and you could kind of see that, and I could see similarities and parallels between the relationship between Ran Carthon and Mike Vrabel, and what I could see is a team that wants to establish a level of toughness, be a team that plays great suffocating defense and runs the football. Now, as I said, the difference, I think that already is Titan football. However, I think that we need to, I think the strategy and how to run the ball has to be a little bit different. As I said, I mean, when you watch the 49ers run game yesterday, that was creative run game. George Kittle lining up out wide and motioning in, and him and Yuricek, with some pull schemes for whether it was Christian McCaffrey, whether it was Deebo Samuel, or whether it was Elijah Mitchell, some of the things. But to your point, I think the thing that you can get away with is a distributor at quarterback, a game manager at quarterback. And if that's who Ryan Tannehill is, if we were at if we were at Vanderbilt right now and having a quarterback camp, and just a camp, nothing else, I tend to believe that Ryan Tannehill would fare very well against Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, or Jimmy G. I truly believe that. The 6 inches between your ears is the thing I can't measure because I don't know these guys. Brock Purdy's a baller by all accounts. And Trey Lance, the jury's still out. A little bit of maybe that young Malik Willis type characteristic right there, still learning the game. Hard to say because he was injured and certainly didn't play. He played college football at the FCS level and was an exceptionally good player at the FCS level, but doesn't have a whole lot of experience. Still, to me, a project. And Jimmy G's had his good moments and bad moments. He's coached his team to a Super Bowl and has won playoff games on the road and done a lot of great things during the course of his career. But so I think you can win and you can be successful in offense, with a Ryan Tannehill running the offense that the 49ers run. And the 49ers are a front seven based defense too. I mean, they don't have elite, players in the secondary, which is similar to what we talk about with the Titans. The Titans are a solid group up front in the front seven, have good safety play, but they got to continue to improve and have more elite talent at the corner position.
That's Bob Shoop, the coach yesterday on Stillman and Company, and so he hit a lot of different things in there. Trey Lance, somebody that we were talking about, is still maybe in the development process just because of the injuries, but he basically, we were on the same page of kind of what you and I talked about, of that, look, if you can build a great roster around your quarterback, whoever that is, the quarterback doesn't have to be elite. You'd love to have the elite quarterback, but it doesn't have to be. Then that's the formula. That's what San Francisco has been successful with. Now, to be fair, they don't have the Super Bowl ring to show for it yet. They've gotten there. They have a chance to go there again. But people are going to be going like, well, I mean, it's just good enough to get there. You're going to actually win it. But I would sign up, and I think most Titans fans would sign up for it. If you're a perennial contender for the Super Bowl, then you take that. It's a hard trophy to win.
Do you think, when healthy last year, that was a great roster around Ryan Tannehill?
No, I don't. I think the defense was really good. So you're asking if they don't go through the ton of injuries they go through?
I'm saying you have a healthy A.J. Brown, you have a healthy Julio Jones, you have a healthy O-line, obviously with Taylor Lewan on there, Nate Davis, Roger Saffold. Because
that's closer.
I would classify that roster when healthy, and I know that's the little asterisk next to it, and people don't like to hear that, but I would classify that as a great roster around Ryan Tannehill.
Because, I mean, even on defense, you would have Jeffrey Simmons,
Harold Landry, D'Amico,
Bud Dupree,
Christian Fulton, Kevin Byard, David Long Jr.
Yeah. I would say it's pretty good to great. Yeah, that's fair. If it's healthy. I'll give you that. That is if it was healthy.
So the way I
but
look
Julio's
at it,
the key factor on offense. The
correct.
fact that you would be getting the Julio Jones
and
that you thought you were
obviously
getting.
a healthy Derek. You
he didn't get hurt.
Yeah. So you can look at it and say, and I'm playing kind of like devil's advocate here, right? And
sure.
And we look at it because I was the first proponent to say, like, I do have confidence in Ryan Tannehill that he can win you a lot of games. Can he get you over the hump? Maybe, right? Maybe he can. Maybe he can't. The situation has to be near perfect, pretty great around him. And that's why we've seen it become so hard for teams like a San Francisco, to be able to get there with a quarterback who's not a Patrick Mahomes and who's not a Joe Burrow. But they've, from 2017 until now, I mean, it's pretty much had to rebuild an entire NFL roster to have depth and to have those guys and to be able to have a roster like that. And, we can beat the drum of you got to be great around Ryan Tannehill. You got to be great around Ryan Tannehill. And right now, I do still believe that he is your best option starting next season. But I also do believe that as far as, moves and coaching and things like that, that roster last year was close to great around Ryan Tannehill.
If healthy. Yeah.
If healthy.
Yeah. And
that was, you can't control that, right? That's a non-controllable factor.
No, but I mean, I look, 2 straight years of a ton of injuries. There's something going on that they got to figure out.
Looking at it from the sense of building a roster around him that could be great around him. It was there, but it couldn't fully be executed because the injuries, the unavailability, things like that.
And then you do get some guys back for the playoff game. You get 9 sacks on Joe Burrow, and he threw 3 interceptions.
And he threw so exactly.
That's why a lot of people are out on him. I mean, we just got a text. We'll never get anywhere with Tannehill. Keep Josh Dobbs. He can hand it off just like Tannehill and throw just as good as Tannehill. I don't know about that. And then get your future quarterback. Tannehill needs to go. I'm not going to – I think Josh Dobbs is a good backup quarterback.
But he's not better than Ryan Tannehill.
If you're going to bring him back and he's going to be the starter, then you're picking in the top 5 next year. That's just –
And, I get it. Ryan Tannehill threw those 3 picks when all eyes were on him and everybody was watching that game and people felt like, we're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to the Super Bowl, right? When they got the 1 seed, they're like, we have to win 2 games at home. We're going to the Super Bowl. But also, I mean, his consistency that he has given the Tennessee Titans and his efficiency that he has had some years. I mean, what's the Greeny soundbite we play? Ryan Tannehill is the most disrespected or something, right? I mean, his numbers were right up there with the top guys in the league. And then, yes, he has a moment like that where all eyes are on him and he completely shrinks under pressure.
Coming up next, we'll get to your phones. A lot of you have some texts on this subject, the quarterback subject in particular, 615-737-1025. Also, your chance to win Nickelback tickets, but you're going to have to call and answer a trivia question. I will give you that question coming up next here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Preds fans, you coming out for tonight's big game? The pre-party action is at Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville, steps away from Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy great specials like $3 off any appetizer in the bar area and $20 bucket specials on Bud, Bud Light, Mick Ultra, and Landshark beer. A sports TV viewing mecca, the Landshark Bar and Grill is a Lower Broadway must-see. That's the Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on the corner of 4th Avenue and Broadway. Stop in before the Preds game tonight.
Hey, it's Jared. Got to tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook. That's my official sportsbook app. The conference championship games are Sunday, and you can enjoy more thrills than a 2-minute drill on FanDuel. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, because they're going to give all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. That means you'll get free bets back if your conference championship game same-game parlay doesn't hit. Bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to which player will score a touchdown and more. Or if you can't decide, just ride with thousands of other fans and bet popular SGPs already made for you. Boy, the Eagles looked great on Saturday night, and Mahomes will see. New to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code JGM to see for yourself why it's America's #1 sportsbook. And if you've already got FanDuel, you can start building your no-sweat same-game parlay today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $5 unless otherwise specified, and restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Join the Nashville Chamber of Commerce for YP Nashville Connect 2023. This Thursday, YP Connect will be in the East Club at Nissan Stadium. This after-hours trade show style event connects young professionals to community impact opportunities with YP Nashville member organizations. As the largest gathering of young professionals in Nashville, YP Connect is a great way to get you plugged into Nashville's expansive young professional community. Register online for the next event at NashvilleChamber.com. That's NashvilleChamber.com.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live. We are good to go. Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas.
Well, you've got the whole world listening. What do you got to say?
You're listening to Chase and Michelle, presented by Hair Club. Hair Club, love your hair, live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Very appropriate. Little Nickelback bringing us back. Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McKay, Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keyser on the ones and twos. All right, we do have, Michelle, on the line, a pair of tickets to see Nickelback before you can even buy them.
Woo!
With special guests Brantley Gilbert and Josh Ross at Bridgestone Arena, Tuesday, August 1st. Tickets will go on sale Friday at 10 o'clock, but you must answer this question. People are already calling in. You got to hear the question.
People are already calling in.
You got to
hear the question.
And I'm going to tie this into something that I love very, very much. And this might go over both of their heads, but that's okay.
Wait, quick. Let me preface this. You told me what type of trivia question you were going to ask, and I was like, are people going to know that?
Oh, yeah.
So proceed.
They're gonna know. So last night was the 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw for WWE. It was Raw is 30 is what they called it. And I remember episode 1, so that's where I'm at. A Nickelback song was the theme song for Monday Night Raw from 2009 to 2012. Which song did Monday Night Raw use from Nickelback as their theme song from 2009 to 2012? You must call 615-737-1025 and tell Nick Keyser the answer. There you go.
I don't even know the answer, and we can't say it now because we have to wait for people to call.
It's a good song. I still
would
like
I know it?
Day. Oh yeah.
Would people know the song?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I know the song. I just looked it up.
It was one of their big songs.
I got it. That would be a fun concert in Bridgestone.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Do we already got a winner? I get it first time. There we go.
I already saw, actually, I think the Preds posted this on Twitter this morning. Speaking of Bridgestone and concerts, Thomas Rhett, he had a Preds jersey on and already said that he's going to be there at the end of September. So I'm like, that one is definitely going to be put on my calendar.
I have seen Thomas Rhett at Bridgestone Arena. Very good show.
Oh, yeah. I saw him at Rupp Arena, another good arena, not too far from here.
I still want to go to Rupp. I haven't
yeah, I'm trying to secure those Kansas-Kentucky tickets this weekend. They're a little pricey. A little pricey. But
hey, Ryan, get her the tickets. The answer was Burn It to the Ground.
Yes. I did look that up.
So we already have a winner. Very, very good song. Some texts. Any big texts stand out to you? As we talked about the quarterback.
We will just never get anywhere with Tannehill. Keep Dobbs. He can hand it off just like Tannehill and throw as good as Tannehill. Get your future quarterback. Tannehill needs to go. To that point, you and I touched on, he can't throw as good as Tannehill. There's a reason he's been a backup for 6 years in the league. Do think he's a very good option, though, as a backup quarterback to have and a guy who you can feel confident, to go on the field. Another texter texts in, Tannehill is good when he's protected. I don't care who we bring in as a QB if we can't protect them, fix the O-line, and get some wide receivers.
Amen.
Another fair point, right? So that's going to be a big one. Like we talked about, the offensive line isn't a quick fix because I've heard I want the whole O-line fixed and I want a whole new wide receiver room. And it's a little tougher, right? Also finding your franchise quarterback is really tough. So
yeah, here let me play I'll play devil's advocate for Jared for a second. Let's just say for what's and giggles that they decide to move on from Ryan Tannehill and Vrabel picks up the phone. Tommy, what's up? It's Vrabes. How you doing?
He does call him Tommy.
How's Tampa? And he was like, what's up, Vrabes? Nah, not much, man. Just chilling. Hey, how do you feel about coming to Nashville, playing for the Titans? We'd love to have you. We'd love to reunite, see what it's like. Maybe Gronk will come with you. Vrabes, I love you, baby, but not with that offensive line. Click.
Or hey, Vrabes, who's my center? Who's my left tackle?
Yeah.
Who's my right tackle? And who we got as guards in there as well?
Yeah.
If he can answer that question, then Brady can bring weapons with him, like you mentioned with Gronk, right? It's already been, out there. Also, too, I love Gronk. I think, great personality. He's been on the Fox broadcast.
He does a good job on Fox.
He is at the stage where, like, when Shaq first started on Inside the NBA, tried too hard to be like a broadcaster at first, and it was like, just let him be goofy. And I just want to see the goofy side of Gronk. Like, you can tell some of the things are planned out of, like, Gronk, come here and say this about TB12 or something. But yeah, he's good, but Gronk, let's come back to your football career in Nashville because that would be really fun.
Unnamed texter says, what about trade for Jordan Love or Cooper Rush? No. Those guys are backups. They just are.
Jordan Love, is at the point where, they drafted him to be their guy after Rodgers, and some more reports we were talking about in the break, right? Like the Dov Kleinman, I don't know how to say his last name. He's a reporter for the NFL, but he said that the Packers are looking at options of a potential trade within the AFC, not the NFC. So they're going to need Jordan Love.
Jets, Jets. It just makes so much sense. Write this down. January 24th, 2023.
What about the Giants?
No, they're going to bring back Daniel Jones.
Oh, and they're in the NFC too. I just said that.
Yeah. Chase McCabe says Tom Brady to Vegas, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets.
What about this? What about this? Are you ready? Are you sitting down? You are sitting down.
I am sitting down, yes.
Aaron Rodgers to the Patriots.
No. Rodgers would not put up with Bill, and Bill wouldn't put up with him. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. Because remember, Bill's the one that would make that trade. I don't think so.
Just throwing it out there.
Throwing it out there. If you are right, we will hold a parade for Michelle.
That would be wild.
Yeah, promo. You would get your victory lap.
I'm just throwing around like AFC teams who still have a question mark at quarterback, right? Obviously, we've talked about here. The Jets seem like they would be, the best option. But
where does Derek Carr go? And what is Derek Carr at this point?
I don't know what Derek Carr
I think Derek Carr is a stopgap. So, what would make sense if the Raiders just say, because I don't think they're going to be able to get much for him if they trade him.
No.
If the Raiders basically
didn't they cut him? I don't think.
No, they haven't done anything yet. But if they eat it and they cut him, the Packers make a ton of sense if they do trade Rodgers because he could be kind of that stopgap. Now, they may say, well, let's just see what we got in Jordan Love, and then, you could tank and find your next guy. But
somebody texted in Coy from Clarksville, this Carr to Atlanta. That actually kind of makes some sense.
That could make sense.
Because they drafted
that could make sense.
Desmond Ridder, who mean, we don't know what Mariota's doing. He pretty much just left the team.
He's gone. He's done.
Will he be anywhere? Will he be a backup anywhere?
Yeah, he'll probably get a backup job.
Somebody's saying Derek Carr to the Colts. I could see that.
I think
that. I mean, maybe they do that and they have another kind of random veteran guy in there, and then they develop their young guy. And because I do still think the Colts will draft a quarterback. I think that Chris Ballard will draft a quarterback.
And I think it's Will Levis.
I do think it's Will Levis too. I've been on that. I also did say I thought that they were going to try to hire J-Rob, but obviously Chris Ballard's staying. I think they will draft Will Levis if they can get him. But Derek Carr would be an interesting option for that 1 year.
This is an interesting one. Rick on my personal text line says Derek Carr to Tampa.
Derek Carr to Tampa.
That's an interesting one. I could see that because Tampa's going to need a quarterback if Brady leaves.
They're also going to need receivers too.
Well, I mean, they still have Godwin and Evans.
Yeah.
But
I could see them wanting to.
Yeah.
What do their contracts look like?
I'd have to go look.
Yeah, me too. But I could see them trying to jump ship somewhere.
I mean,
Carr to the Commanders on here. So, I mean, there's so many different options. There's so many different teams who still have question marks. I mean, the Panthers, whether they draft somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, we still don't even know if Lamar Jackson's going to be with the Ravens, right? I feel like this offseason with quarterbacks, I mean, last season was pretty crazy, but I think this season is going to be a lot of movement going on.
Yeah, and the Saints need to find somebody.
Yeah, the Saints. I mean, who knows if Tua is even going to, right? After suffering those 3 head injuries back to back to back, I mean, you don't even know what his future looks like there.
If Tua is not an option for Miami, then I think they make a push for Rodgers or Brady.
Yeah. I mean, there was talk about Brady trying to be the part owner player with them, and all those reports came out. Yeah, I could see that too.
I'll say another thing to look out for that I don't think is – I mean, I think it's probably been mentioned, but Arizona could try to move Kyler. I wouldn't be shocked.
After they just gave him that huge contract?
I wouldn't be shocked. New GM, new regime coming in.
Correct, but, I mean, they're going to be – I mean, I don't
He's
even –
caused a lot of trouble.
And I agree. I'm just looking at it from, like, what would they have to pay? I mean, they just signed him to –
Yeah. I mean, look, they'd probably eat something, and they're not going to get the return that they were – I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying keep an eye on it. That's just kind of –
I mean, I don't disagree. I honestly was thinking kind of similar because obviously they got to have a new head coach, right? And their personality issues, that came out of there. And I'm just thinking, who logistically, because he has been a guy who hasn't proved much of anything in the league yet, would take on that contract.
Oh, we got a little walk-off song. I like that. That's going to do it for us, Chase and Michelle. But coming up next, Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, they are live at Bridgestone Arena. And they will give you the latest on the Titans offensive coordinator search, plus get you ready for Preds and Jets tonight. That's all next on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman, weekday